Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to do a full recap of Season 1 of the Netflix sequel series to that 70s show, That 90s Show. Now we're going to talk about what the show focuses around, who it focuses around, cameos, Easter eggs, just a little bit of everything. And so with that little bit of business out of the way, let's jump right into this video. The season starts out with Leia comes to visit Red and Kitty for what is supposed to be just a 4th of July weekend, along with Eric and Donna, and they waste no time getting into with the cameo of the original characters. Aside from Red and Kitty, it has Donna and Eric dropping off or bringing Leia to their house for this weekend, and this happens within the first 30 seconds of the first episode, so we get to see these returning characters come in and just kind of make their presence known and just immediately set that tone that it's going to be a direct sequel or what have you from that 70s show, and it accomplishes that within that first little bit of the first episode. It just immediately feels like it's just an extension of that 70s show. It starts off as just a 4th of July weekend, but then turns into a full summer affair when she befriends the next door neighbor who's living in Donna's house. This new neighbor is named Gwen, and right away she strikes up this friendship with her, and also with that she becomes friends with her half-brother Nate, and then just is introduced to this whole new circle of friends that she's going to include, or that she's going to spend the summer with. And now the circle of friends, it includes Jay Kelso, that's right, that is the son of Michael Kelso and Jackie that they had together, and they do have their cameo within this episode, but it's only a matter of a couple minutes, and then we never see them again, which begs the question, how are they together? Why are they together? How did they have this kid, and how long before they were together? And just a lot of different questions. They do get answered throughout the first few episodes, as it comes with an additional cameo from other past characters, and we'll get into that. This first episode kind of repeats a 70s show storyline. It kind of just sets that tone with this old storyline where the kids are mistakenly given a keg of beer, and then they have to go about finding a way to get a tap for it, just like way back, I think it was probably episode 3 of season 1 70s show, somewhere around there. And so they devise this plan to get one. Then after a lot of shenanigans ensue, they end up in a classic location, the water tower. And it's here that Leia decides that she doesn't want to leave after this weekend. She wants to be there for the whole summer because she's really kind of struck up a bond with these people. And it's much to her dad's disliking that she wants to do this, because he has other plans for her. He was going to take her to a space camp, and because he's really, they had a tight bond as she's grown up, but as she's gotten older, she's kind of started to pull away, as teenagers do sometimes. And so it's with this little argument that they have that she wants to stay that we actually get Eric's first foot and ass threat.
I'm not getting in that car tomorrow, and you can't make me.
Or you're getting in that car, or my foot is getting in your ass.
In true Red Foreman fashion, this alone just makes the episode. It just brings everything full circle for this particular threat and everything. Just Eric tried so long to not be like his dad, and then there you have it. He threatens the foot in the ass just like his dad did many times throughout the 70s show run. After coming to understand where his daughter's coming from and that she just wants to fit in with these people and just actually feel like she belongs somewhere, he decides to let her stay for the summer. And then the rest of the season is just the kids getting into various trouble. At one point they go to a rave, if you want to call it that. It's kind of just, in true 90s sitcom fashion, where you just have to suspend disbelief of where they're at and what they're doing and everything. But mostly the story really revolves around Leia and Jay Kelso, as they kind of develop feelings for each other. And Leia never has had a first kiss or anything like that, any kind of boyfriend, just because she's so awkward like her dad was at the same age. And so this whole summer adventure is about her getting her first kiss and then developing these feelings for Jay. It's a multiple back and forth of will they, won't they, just because Jay is known for being a player, much like his dad, and being raised up kind of with that same mindset that his dad gave him all those years of just getting what you can and get out for the most part. And with other side supporting stories, like one of the bigger ones was Ozzy. Now, Ozzy, you kind of know right away he's gay, and he's very open about it. And so he's kind of talking about how he will tell strangers that he's gay just so he can kind of get it out, because he's not comfortable really telling people he knows or people he has to see more than once. But it's during this that he does become comfortable with Kitty, and he comes out to her, and she's very accepting of it, which is, you can't expect any less from Kitty. She's a very loving character, and so she totally accepts him for who he is. And then other stories unfold, such as Nate and Nikki. They are kind of the power couple of the series, but as the season goes on, it's kind of hinted that Nikki is really thinking about the future in college, and it may not include Nate. So Nate kind of thinks that it's inevitable that he's going to eventually be left by her, and this kind of sends him off into a spiral. And then as we go through the season, there are multiple cameos popping up. Some we saw in the trailer, some we did not. So there are a couple surprises, and we'll kind of get to those in kind of a cameo breakdown. But as the summer kind of comes to a close, Leia, feeling that she doesn't want to leave these people, she doesn't want to leave Jay, but then they do eventually break up and decide, long distance is too hard. But then Jay comes back and says he wants to do long distance, and it's kind of sent Leia into, not really knowing what she wants and saying that she wants to be just friends, and that just kind of creates this whole awkward situation. And so as the summer is kind of wrapping up, it creates different complications in different areas, where Gwen and Leia have become very close. At one point, Gwen feels like Leia is choosing Jay over her as they're trying to work out this relationship and everything. That creates a lot of complications right there. And with Leia not really knowing where to turn, as she's looking for Gwen, trying to explain her that that's not the case, that she doesn't want to pick Jay over her. She doesn't want to pick a guy over one of her, who has become one of her best friends. And she runs into Nate, and as I mentioned earlier, Nate's going through all kinds of other things, trying to figure out whether or not him and Nikki are meant to be, if they're going to stay together, and just all the uncertainty that comes with that. They are kind of confiding in each other, and it's within this that they almost kiss. And Nate, and Gwen walks in on us, catches it before it can happen, and it just kind of becomes a secret that they decide to all keep between each other and not tell anybody else as the summer's over and Leia's getting ready to leave anyway. And just a lot of feelings and a lot of complications in multiple areas. And it's towards the last episode that Donna does return to pick up Leia, and as I mentioned before, Eric/Topher Grace does not make any other appearances in the series. And it's kind of for the better, because you don't want to have this new series depending on original characters to kind of hold it up, because as the series goes on, the kids do stand up on their own legs and they hold up the series, and it's still the same 70s show kind of tone. It does help to have Red and Kitty there. But as Leia prepares to return to Chicago, there's just a lot that's unresolved between a few different people. And so that kind of wraps up the series. Does it work? It did. It did work in its own way. It did. Obviously, it had the return of multiple original characters come in and kind of just support different storylines and just kind of prop up the show a little bit, because you have people like me who grew up with the 70s show, and we were really looking forward to seeing these original characters comes back, and they did their part, and then they left, and then they left the new characters to figure out who they are and what this show is. So a lot of back and forth, a lot of complications and things unresolved, but overall, the show, I believe, did pretty well. It did pretty well with the originals, it did pretty well with these new characters and these new storylines. And as far as a season 2, nothing official has been announced yet. In some ways, I could see it as season 2, yes, they could come back that next summer or whatever the time frame may be to continue to resolve these things that were left unresolved. On the other hand, Leia could leave and never come back again, and then everybody moves on. It's kind of one of those situations where it could possibly work either way. Would I like to see a season 2? Absolutely, because I loved 70s show growing up, and just this show had a lot of the same feel. Plus, I love Red and Kitty. They are great characters on their own. It leaves a lot of things unanswered. Hopefully it gets a second season, but I'm not 100% sure if it will. And kind of with all of that presented and all the information out there, there are a few things I want to go over. There are some nostalgia pieces as far as, certain things that you may not have noticed that were there, and just maybe characters that were not discussed. The big one that everybody was wondering how they would address his character as far as what's he doing and everything, or if he's even going to be mentioned because of the things that he's going through. But as far as nostalgia, we do get a scene where Fez and Donna are actually downstairs in the circle again with these kids. It's kind of Donna coming in there to get Fez because he's kind of having a lot of doubts and some questions on what's going on, and he just misses his friends because everyone's kind of went off in their own direction. And one big thing that maybe you noticed it, maybe didn't, the furniture down in the basement is actually the furniture that was originally in 70s Show living room. So everything's been kind of moved downstairs. The table is the original table from that 70s Show. And one big thing, they had a birthday episode for Leia where Bob Pinciotti does come back from Florida, because he did actually move to Florida and everything. He comes back, and him and Red kind of getting this back and forth on who can give Leia the better birthday present. And Red turns over the Vista Cruiser to Leia, which I thought was pretty cool. And kind of a running joke, we still have no idea where Fez is from. They kind of discuss it with Sherry, who is the mother of Nate and Gwen, that is living next door, and she's kind of become friends with Red and Kitty during this time. So she's a single parent, and they're kind of talking about it because she's actually dating Fez. And the running joke is, she asks where's Fez from, and right when she says it, a tea kettle blows off, and the whistle kind of blocks out what she's saying. So it's just one of those running jokes that continues on from the original series. With certain reveals and just certain characters, we have some questions, or I have some questions, like Jackie and Kelso. Why did they end up back together? When did they end up back together? And just how are they working as a couple? Turns out they're still as toxic as ever, because they mentioned that they are working on their second remarriage, but they do have this kid that they share between them. And they pop in with that first episode for a matter of maybe 2.5 minutes, and then they're gone, and we don't see them again, which is kind of strange considering that their son, I can only assume, still lives in Point Place. So they have to be around. And as far as Kelso is concerned, they don't mention his daughter Betsy at all, that he had with Brooke within that 70s Show. And so that kind of goes on to open up a can of worms as far as characters that they don't mention. And obviously the big one is Hyde, Danny Masterson. There was a lot of discussion on whether or not how they would handle his absence, and they just decided we're not going to mention him at all. They is not mentioned at all by any of the characters or any indication of where he's at, and that's because of Danny Masterson's current legal troubles that he's being accused of and everything. So they decided to just forego anything to do with him. Another one that I saw that they didn't mention, but it might be for good reason, was that they don't mention where Lori is. It's pretty well known that the actress who played Lori actually passed away a few years ago. She developed a lot of problems, and that is why she was kind of on and off the show towards the end of it, where she had developed, I believe, drinking problems, and she unfortunately passed away in her sleep due to these problems that she was going through. And they did recast her, and the actress that they had come in to do her part didn't quite hit it, in my opinion. She just didn't quite have that same chemistry with the rest of the cast, and I think that's why we didn't see her that often towards the end. There is no mention of Midge. Now, this is another situation where the actress who played Midge did unfortunately pass away as well. She passed away in early 2021, and just the fact that they don't say anything about where she is or what she's up to, assuming she's still out in California. So I think that's probably why they left that alone, because the actress is gone. There's really nothing they could do with a storyline involving her. And last but not least, there is no mention of Randy. Now, this is a widely unliked character in the 8th season, so much that he is dismissed on the, I want to say, second to last episode, and we don't see him, or he might even be in the last episode. We don't see him at all. Donna breaks up with him, and then he just runs off, and there is no mention of him at all, which is understandable because he didn't play a big part in the series. And so kind of going from there, we had a lot of different things where As far as I was hoping some of these other characters would share screen time, and the only ones to share any screen time together are Eric and Donna, Michael and Jackie, and then Fez and Donna. They share screen time in the last episode, which is how they end up in the circle down in the basement. And just as far as cameos from other characters that weren't really mentioned in the big trailers and everything, we did get Bob back for a birthday episode, like I said, for Leia. And then we also had Leo. He was also in the trailers, but another one that wasn't in the trailers was Fenton. If you don't remember him, he was the jewelry store worker that Eric had bought his engagement ring with, and also Fez had a big thing with him where they did not like each other. He played a landlord towards the end of the episode, and he actually is also the landlord for Donna's old house where Sherry, Gwen, and Nate all live. And the kind of feud between him and Fez continues, but then they resolve it. So it does kind of take things and kind of wrap them up. And one cameo that they had was kind of part of a parody that they had within the show. It was Brian Austin Green, who during that time was on the show Beverly Hills 90210, and they kind of did a parody of that involving Point Place, and they just kind of snuck him in playing that same character that he played from Beverly Hills. And so it was really awkward to see him in there, but again, kind of funny for the time frame that they were referencing and everything. Kind of final thoughts. All in all, the show was decent. I really enjoyed it. It really held up that same tone, that same feel of that 70s show. And seeing these characters come back, even though we didn't get to see some of them, but understandably, there was reason they just couldn't do it. It would not be good publicity for the show. And so I definitely recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. Hopefully it gets a second season. We'll see. Not 100% sure. But I think that will do it. But I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, leave those likes down below. Leave those comments. I want to continue the discussion. What was your favorite parts about it? What didn't you like about it? Just a little bit of everything. So until next time, guys, I will see you later. Bye.